Imagine opening Google Maps tomorrow, and it has absolutely no idea where you are. No navigation, no food delivery, no ride sharing. Millions of people stuck instantly. Sounds like a hacker attack, right? But this story has nothing to do with hackers. In fact, the real culprit was time. Yes, time. Not bad weather, not broken satellites, just time. Because every GPS satellite is actually an incredibly accurate clock. Your phone doesn't ask, "Where am I?" Instead, it asks, "What time is it?" Each satellite answers with the exact time. Your phone compares those answers and calculates your position. That's why GPS is really a giant timing system. And if those clocks become even one tiny bit wrong, everything starts falling apart, which is exactly what almost happened. Not because the satellites stopped working. They were working perfectly. The problem was the number. One tiny number. That reached its limit. And when that happened, engineers around the world held their breath. What was this mysterious number? And why could it confuse GPS systems around the world? So, what was this mysterious number? Every GPS satellite keeps track of time using something called GPS weeks. Instead of counting days, it counts weeks. Week 1, week 2, week 3. Simple enough, until you discover one strange decision. The engineers only gave GPS 10 bits to store the week number, and 10 bits can only count to 1023. After that, there was nowhere left to go. So instead, it wrapped around back to 0. Imagine celebrating your 1024th birthday and suddenly becoming a newborn. That's basically what happened to GPS, to the satellite. Everything looked normal, but older GPS receivers became completely confused. Some devices believed it was nearly 20 years earlier. Imagine your phone thinking, "Today is yesterday's yesterday." And when time becomes wrong, location becomes wrong too. That's when the real problems began. Some airplanes, farms, and even emergency systems suddenly started acting strangely. But why didn't the entire world collapse? That's where the story gets even more interesting. When the counter reset, the satellites didn't stop working. They simply started telling the wrong time. And for GPS, even a tiny timing error means a huge location error. Some receivers thought they were somewhere else. Others displayed completely incorrect dates. For most people, nothing seemed unusual because engineers had been preparing for years. Software updates quietly fixed millions of GPS devices before the reset happened. But not every device received the update. Some older navigation systems actually failed. Some communication equipment reported incorrect dates. Even a few emergency systems needed manual repairs. The disaster everyone feared never fully happened. Not because the bug wasn't real, but because thousands of engineers fixed it before most of us even knew it existed. But here's the crazy part. This wasn't the first time a tiny number almost caused worldwide chaos. And it definitely won't be the last, because another countdown is already ticking. But here's the question. Why does GPS care about time so much? Because GPS doesn't actually measure distance. It measures time. Imagine someone standing on a hill and shouting your name. If the sound reaches you, 5 seconds later, they are far away. GPS works almost exactly the same way. Except, instead of sound, it uses radio waves. And radio waves travel at the speed of light. That means light travels almost 30 centimeters in just 1/billionth of a second. If the satellite's clock is wrong by only 1/billionth of a second, your location can already be off by about 30 centimeters. Now imagine, the clock is wrong by an entire second. Your location wouldn't be a few meters off. It would be hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. That's why GPS satellites carry some of the most accurate clocks ever built by humans. And suddenly, that tiny number doesn't seem so tiny anymore. But if engineers already knew this bug was coming, why didn't they simply design GPS differently from the beginning? The answer goes all the way back to the 1970s. Here's the crazy part. Most people have never heard of this bug, because when technology works, nobody notices. But when one tiny piece fails, the whole world notices. Modern civilization isn't held together by giant machines. It's held together by millions of tiny ideas working together. One engineer writes a line of code. Another builds a satellite. Someone else maintains a server. Individually, their work seems small. Together, they keep billions of lives moving. Every Uber ride, every food delivery, every airplane landing, every emergency response depends on people you'll probably never know. And maybe that's the real lesson. Technology isn't magic. It's trust. Trust. That millions of invisible pieces will keep doing their job. The day GPS almost failed the world wasn't really about GPS. It was a reminder that the biggest systems on Earth often depend on the smallest things. And most of the time, the people holding everything together are the ones nobody ever sees.